Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another video. I'm like shaking right now. Damian Lillard has finally been traded, and it's not to the Miami Heat, it's not to the Toronto Raptors, the Chicago Bulls, the Sixers, all these rumor teams. It's to none of them. He got traded to the Milwaukee Bucks. Yes, I was just sitting there eating lunch, this couch you always see behind me. I was sitting there, and I got a notification from Woj that said, breaking, Damian Lillard, or at least the Portland Trail Blazers, are trading guard Damian Lillard to the Milwaukee Bucks. Ridiculous. Like, we've been waiting for the Dame trade to happen. It's finally went down. He's a Milwaukee Buck. This is not a team I think anybody saw coming. We saw rumors, I think, recently that the Bucks were interested in trading for Damian Lillard, but it's like they don't have the assets to do that. How are they possibly going to make that happen? It seemed like the Bucks would probably try and make a big move at some point soon to make Giannis happy, because he'd been saying all summer in the media, you know, I want to be a Buck for life, but I got to prioritize winning. His contract is coming up soon. I made a full video breaking down about how the Bucks were kind of screwed because Giannis was going to be a free agent soon, and he had been saying all this stuff in the media. Brook Lopez was getting older and an upcoming free agent. Jrue Holiday was talking about retiring in a few years. He actually said a few days ago, in fact, it might have been yesterday, that he wants to be a Bucks lifer. There was some report that came out about that, so that's not happening anymore. Like, Chris Middleton was a free agent coming up. This whole team felt like it was falling apart, especially after their first round exit this past April to the Miami Heat, like losing the first round. It was embarrassing. They got embarrassed, one of the only 1 seeds to ever lose to an 8 seed, and now they steal Dame away from that same team and build the best duo in the league. I don't think anybody's going to debate that Dame and Giannis is probably the best duo in the entire NBA. In my opinion, Giannis is the second best player in the world. Dame is easily top 10. He just had probably the best individual season of his entire career, and now you've got Giannis and Dame together over there in Milwaukee, whose big problem was offense. They've got defenders to make up for. In fact, let me talk about the trade package. I didn't even mention that. It's Damian Lillard going to Milwaukee with Jrue Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Tamuni Kamara, and a 2029 unprotected Bucks first-round pick with a couple of swaps thrown in there as well. To the Blazers with Phoenix landing Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nas Little, Keon Johnson. Yes, it's the 3-team deal. That's been rumored a little bit with the Suns being involved. We'll talk about all my biggest winners and losers of the deal, and I think obviously the Bucks are a big one. They only have to give up Jrue Holiday, who again, the defense is huge, but his offense has been a big issue in the playoffs. We've seen it time and time again. You now bring in Dame, who's a consistent clutch performer, a big-time playoff jumper. He's going to be incredible. Him and Giannis can both average 30 over the course of not just the regular season, but you put him in the playoffs too. They're going to be lethal. We don't know how Dame feels about this, which is certainly a question mark. Of course, he really, really wanted to be in Miami. That's no secret whatsoever. But now he goes over to Milwaukee and gets to play with Giannis, one of the best players in the world. Maybe this works for him. He also plays alongside Chris Middleton, so there's 3 all-star caliber players there. Brook Lopez almost just one depoy. They've got some good depth around them. All you had to give up was Jrue Holiday, and swapping Dame for Jrue is a big win in my opinion. You give up Grayson Allen, who you would have liked to see stay because he's a solid depth piece, but you've got pieces that can replace him. So it's just 2 guys that you gave up in future draft capital, which doesn't matter because you're trying to win now. You got to keep Giannis happy. Forget the draft capital. That doesn't matter. If you're bad down the line, who cares if you win a championship now? And a duo of Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo with Chris, with Brook, new head coaching and Adrian Griffin, like, this team has to be the championship favorites at this point, right? Like, there's Denver, of course. They just won the title. I think they're up there as well. Boston, I've made it no secret that I'm a big fan of what they did over the course of this offseason. Like, I think those 3 teams are probably the big 3 right now. Maybe the Lakers, maybe the Suns as well. And the Suns, I think, got better too. They were a winner in this trade. I'll talk about them in a moment. But how do you stop Giannis and Dame? Imagine that pick and roll. What do you do with Brook Lopez out there on the 3-point line or banging down low? Chris Middleton out there on the 3-point line. If he can stay healthy, this team is going to be completely unstoppable. I don't know what you do against this duo. A couple of guys who are consistently stepping up in the playoffs. A team that has a lot of championship experience with Giannis and all these guys. Like, this team has to be the favorite in the Eastern Conference. At the very minimum, they're probably championship favorites at this point. So we'll see what happens with Dame. I'm going to refresh Twitter real quick to see if we've gotten any reports about if Dame is cool with this and anything. Chris Haynes says that Dame and Giannis in recent years flirted with the idea of playing with one another, but the holdup was each star wanted the other to join their team. Milwaukee lands Antetokounmpo's desired star mate. So it seems like Giannis really pushed for this, which of course makes sense. And it seems like maybe Dame is going to be cool with it. Fingers crossed that he is, because I really want to see this team. Underdog NBA tweet out the Bucks depth chart. You've got Damian Lillard, Pat Connaughton, Chris Middleton, Giannis, and Brook Lopez with MarJon Beauchamp. I forgot they had Malik Beasley. You have Jay Crowder, Bobby Portis. Like, this team's good. This is a good team. Like, not even a good team. This is an unbelievable squad that they've built, Milwaukee. They recovered incredibly. I can't think of a time I've seen a recovery like this, where it's all summer, all the talk is about they lost the 8 seed. Giannis is going to leave soon. The team is falling apart. They add Damian Lillard to this team. I just smacked my desk. That's how excited I am. So yeah, we'll probably make a full video talking all about how I think this team is going to work at some point soon, but that's kind of my main thoughts at the moment. I just can't believe this actually happened. It's mind-blowing. Let's talk about the rest of the assets in this trade. The Blazers get Drew Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Tumini Kamara, a 2029 first-round Bucks pick, and a couple of Bucks swaps. I think that's fine for Damian Lillard. You would like to see them get probably more young assets or more draft capital, but I do think DeAndre Ayton is a great pickup for them. He's a younger big than Yusuf Nurkic. He fits the timeline better, and I still think Ayton has a lot of potential. Sure, he hasn't lived up to some of the hype that he had when he was a first overall pick, but he was an integral part to the Suns making it to the finals back in 2021 to play the Bucks, no less. Ayton is still a good player. Is he a great player at this point? Probably not, but I do think he can get there. And now you reset the timeline a little bit with your center. You give him a chance now to play on a team with less expectations, see if maybe his game grows that way. Playing alongside guys like Scoot Henderson, Shaedon Sharpe, Anthony Simons, of course. I'm really excited about that grouping. The Blazers are going to be fun. Like, this is a fun young team this upcoming season, one that I think will be relatively competitive compared to tanking teams of the past. Do I think they're going to make the play-in? No, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're giving teams a really tough game on every single night. Really excited actually to watch the Blazers this upcoming season. Kamara is an interesting draft prospect. You get some picks. That 2029 Bucks pick in particular could be really valuable because at that point, Dame's going to be like 40 years old. Chris Middleton's going to be old. Brook will definitely be retired. We'll see what happens with Giannis. So maybe that pick ends up becoming really valuable. So I like this for the Blazers. I think this is a fine haul. They didn't get all the young talent that maybe you would have wanted to get or some draft capital, but all in all, I think this is a fine haul. It's not the best one maybe out there, but this isn't bad. Plus, the talk is that they're going to trade Drew Holiday. They're going to flip him to somewhere else, and I think they could get some good assets for Drew. Drew is now one of the top candidates out there in the trade market. If I'm a team out there that needs a point guard, I'm taking a heavy look at Drew. We talked about maybe the Clippers, who were rumored to be interested in a guy like James Harden. Maybe now they pivot to a guy like Drew. I think there are a lot of competitive teams out there that are going to look heavily at trying to trade for Drew Holiday, and that will ultimately get the Blazers some more assets. So ultimately, I think this is a pretty good deal for the Blazers. The Suns, I also think, were winners. I don't think any of the teams did bad in this trade. The Suns get Yusuf Nurkic, who was rumored they wanted over the past couple of days, really over the last week or so. It became suddenly known that, hey, the Blazers are interested in maybe doing a swap between Yusuf Nurkic and DeAndre Ayton, but that the Suns would want some more pieces, and they get some more pieces. They get Nurkic, they get Nas Little, Keon Johnson, and Grayson Allen. Their big issue is depth. We know they have the star power between the big three now. I was going to say big four of Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal. No longer DeAndre Ayton there. I guess you can consider Yusuf Nurkic in that if you want, but we knew they had star power. They just need some depth, and now they add, again, Nas Little, who's a really fun defensive forward that can help out on that end with them. Grayson Allen, who's a guy that can knock down some threes, going to get a ton of wide open looks playing off of that big three. And Nurkic, who I think Ayton is certainly better than, but I think he'll be fine as a serviceable big. And to make that swap to get a couple of depth pieces, I think ultimately it was a fine trade for the Suns. So I don't think there's any big losers in the trade itself, but outside the trade, obviously the Miami Heat are massive losers in the sweepstakes, in my opinion. They got worse in this offseason, if you ask me. They lost Max Strus, they lost Gabe Vincent. I like the addition of, say, like a Thomas Bryant. I like Josh Richardson coming in, but this is a team that's getting older and has now whiffed on a multitude of stars. There have been a number of players that they've been in conversations with, the rumors that, hey, the Heat are the front runner to land them, or they're really looking at them, and they strike out twice this offseason between Bradley Beal and now Damian Lillard. Dame would have been a perfect fit with Jimmy Butler, with Bam Adebayo. That team probably would have been the best in the Eastern Conference, or certainly in the conversation at the least, with the Bucks, with the Celtics, and instead they let him go to probably their biggest rival at this point in the Milwaukee Bucks, who they played in the playoffs a number of times. They just beat them, and now the Bucks had a top 10 player, and the Heat, I think, got worse. So they're probably my biggest loser, as well as a number of other teams that were trying to trade for Dame. Dame, we'll see what happens. I think he's a big winner in this whole thing because he's playing now with Giannis. This is by far his best chance to win a championship. Probably the first time he's ever been on a true championship contender. I think Milwaukee's really well set up. I'm super excited for this. I think those are my main thoughts on this deal. Let me know who your biggest winners and losers were of this trade. What's your reaction? Did Portland get enough for Damian Lillard? I'm going to go ahead and check Twitter real quick and see if there's any updates about, maybe a Drew Holiday trade or anything like that. No, doesn't look like we're getting anything at the moment. Still waiting to see if the Drew trade pops up at some point soon. What does Dame think about this whole thing? He hasn't tweeted or said anything. But the fact that Chris Haynes is talking about Giannis and Dame wanting to play together for a little bit, that this was kind of a vision that they had. To me, it feels like this is probably a trade that Dame's going to be fine with. It's not his ideal destination, but I think once him and the Bucks, Giannis, Brooke, Chris, like those guys, when they're winning games by like 30 points and Dame gets to sit the fourth quarter, I think he's going to be pretty fine with the outcome. So yeah, this is ridiculous. I literally can't believe this happened. Like I said at the beginning of the video, when this trade happened, I was shaking. This is one of the biggest NBA trades in recent history, probably one of the biggest trades of all time. Dame lands in Milwaukee. He's now Milwaukee Buck. Let me know what y'all think of it down below in the comments. Are they your favorites at this point? Appreciate y'all watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. Going to be making a full video at this point, probably talking about the Blazers' future, the Bucks, what the new Suns look like. So a bunch of content coming soon. Media day is right around the corner. Things heat up fast. Appreciate y'all watching. I'll see y'all later. Peace.